What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Drive Theory. Today, we're going to try to get the first start on the Evo 4. Let's get to it. Alright, so I know last video I had promised that we were going to start this video off with getting the Koyo Rad radiator installed, and I was planning to do that, except that when I pulled the Koyo Rad radiator out of the box, it does look like it'll fit. However, the factory fan does not look like it will bolt up nicely to the Koyo Rad radiator. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do there, whether I'm going to modify some brackets to make it work, or if I'm going to try to find a slim fan that fits. Maybe there's one that's designed for it. I don't know. But for now, in the essence of time, I decided to put the factory radiator back in. Well, the factory radiator is going in. I did take this opportunity to buy some OEM parts from amayama.com. These are brand new OEM radiator support brackets, as well as brand new OEM bolts for the radiator. So let's get this installed and we'll go from there. All right, so the radiator is back in. We are good to go there. Unfortunately, before I go install the radiator hoses, I need to run to the parts store and get some hose clamps. I expected the Samco hoses to come with new clamps, but they did not, so I'll have to run and get some of those. I will get those installed once I get back and check back in after that. Catch you soon. All right, so we got the radiator hoses in, everything buttoned up on the radiator. We do have a radiator cap, but first we need to fill this with coolant before we try to start this thing. Let's try to figure out this Haltech ECU thing and try to get a base map loaded and see if we can get things started up. All right, guys, it is a new day. We did get the Haltech ECU set up, but before I went to do the first start of it, I realized that I had forgot to cap off a few vacuum ports on the intake manifold, so I'm going to do that. Also, when I was installing the radiator hoses, I noticed that the intake kind of pinches, or not, pinches are not the right word. It's a very subtle like pressure on the lower radiator hose. So if you guys, I'll show you guys right now. So if you take a look there, it's like it ever so slightly pushes up against it. And normally this wouldn't be a problem, except for there is some stuff behind it. So it does kind of put a little bit, a small pinch, I guess. It's not like it's pinching it off, but it is putting a little pressure on it. So I'm not super enthused about that. I was able to rotate the intake a little bit to kind of relieve that pressure a little bit, but it's still kind of there. I think what I'm going to do for now is just put together one of those old school JDM like turbo mesh screens that go on the turbo, and then that will get us going for the tune and everything. And then once I get it all back and running and everything, I think I will take it to a local fab shop and have them fabricate a new intake that bends in a way that more facilitates the lower intake, or the lower radiator hose. So let's get that intake off of there. Let's get those vacuum ports plugged up and we will go from there. All right, so we got the intake removed and we got the vacuum ports capped off. We should be good to go. I just filled this with coolant as well. So let's try to get a first start and see if we can get this thing running. Wish me luck. All right, so we are in the car. The heater is on. Let's try to start this thing and see if it runs. And if it does run, we gotta let it run for a few minutes until the bubbles and the coolant are done. So let's see if we get this started first of all and go from there. Moment of truth. Woo! She purrs, baby! Hell yeah! She is a bit shaky. No, but not too bad though. Not too bad. Let's let it run for a little bit and see what happens. So far I don't see any bubbles come up from the coolant, but I expect to see some here in a little bit. So yeah, we'll check back in after a few minutes, go from there. Catch you soon. There's the bubbles. That's what I expected to see. So it's probably going to be, honestly, since this is starting from nothing, probably, I don't know, I'm going to give it like 10 minutes or so and see if we can get the bubbles to gotten that long, and I'll check back in soon. All right, so it's only been a few minutes since I last checked in. I did a quick, check around. There's no leaks between oil, coolant, anything like that. There's no leaks in any of the intercooler or intake piping or any of the vacuum lines that I can tell. So it should be good there. I did notice that on the dash, it looks like the cat temperature sensor is malfunctioning, and I believe that's the ABS light, which, or maybe it's wheel speed, I can't remember, but totally makes sense, because I kind of guesstimated when entering some of the sensor ports that were not automatically plugged in by Haltech in the base tune. So neither of those things I'm really super concerned about. They aren't critical to the running of the car, really. The car is running a little rich, which is also expected. Not only is it a base tune, but the cat sensor is not being read, and that probably has something to do with that as well. I'm about to plug in the laptop now and see if we can get any more information. Coolant temperature level looks normal, looks fine. We are gonna have to put some fuel in this thing before we get it tuned, that's for sure. But let's take a look at what the Haltech dashboard is saying and see if we can get any more insight into this. It seems to be running fine for the most part. I'm gonna give it another 5 minutes or so to let the coolant bubbles settle. And then once we do that, we can cap off the radiator and we can start testing something a little more, doing some small revs to make sure everything feels good with the throttle response and all that. I'm probably going to leave the bumper off until after it's tuned. That way if the tuner needs to get under there to strap anything and whatnot. So yeah, let's take a look at this Haltech thing and see what we got going on here. Alright, so the RPMs are being read right. The TPS sensor is being read. Ignition angle seems normal. Battery voltage is great. The intake air temperature sensor is functioning perfectly. That's a good sign. You know, if you remember, we're using an external GM style intake air temperature sensor that was extremely easy to set up in Haltech's dashboard. So glad to see that's working. It looks like, at least looking at this initial dashboard, everything for the most part seems fine. I'm still unsure why those two lights are on. I'll probably leave that to the tuner to figure out. Also, I should probably mention that there was something that I did not expect with this particular Haltech ECU I bought. So as you recall, I did the Haltech Elite 1000, which is kind of like it's not the complete entry level, but it's kind of like lower mid tier. And that's because on the chart that it showed, you know, what features it had, what features it didn't. I didn't really need any of the features it didn't have. However, what I didn't check is the Evo 4 jumper harness that I used to make it plug and play with the factory Evo 4 harness. It unfortunately does have some requirements as well. The only thing that the Elite 1000 doesn't support that I really wish it did, and it's making me consider upgrading to the Haltech Elite 2500, which is money, but it's the lowest one that the Evo 4 jumper harness supports check engine light on. So that is unfortunate that unless we have the laptop plugged in, we will not be able to get engine codes from this thing. That kind of sucks. But yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do that down the road. We'll see. As I said, the Haltech 2500 is quite expensive. It's kind of like towards the upper tiers of the Haltech ECUs. So we'll see. I want to talk to the guys at Haltech and see if there's any other possible. Maybe I could do it with the 1500, even though the diagram doesn't support it. I know the 1500 and 2500 are closely rated. So I don't know. I'll talk to them. I'll let you guys know what they say there. All right, guys, update on the coolant situation. It has taken forever to get all the bubbles out. Like, it's completely smooth for a while, then all of a sudden a big burst of bubbles comes through, and then it goes smooth again, etc. So I turn the engine off. Let me get this key out of here, it's not beeping. I turns the engine off. I'm gonna let it cool down. I have the coolant filler still in there, so I'm gonna let it cool down a bit, and we'll come back to this once the engine's cool again, and we'll redo it again to try to get the rest of those bubbles out. So we have proven it ran. First start is a success. I will call this video here, and I don't know what we're gonna do next. I guess we'll see next week. So ciao.